we're going to run through how to make a change to multiple pages at once in the Sourcegraph handbook. It's a little bit more complex than making a single page change, but I know you got it. So let's start by getting GitHub Desktop, which is a Mac or Windows application that makes it easy to work with Git repositories. So I'll download it, wait for it to download. Okay, I'll open it up and drag it to my applications folder and then go and open it up. Okay, I'm going to sign in to GitHub. This assumes you already have an account. It's a little bit easier to sign in using the browser, so I'll do that. Okay, looks like it already had. It might take you to a prompt on GitHub to authorize GitHub Desktop. That's okay, you can click authorize. All right, I'll continue. And we're going to clone a repository from the internet. The handbook is in a repository called Sourcegraph/about. So I'll type that in, I see it, and clone that. Okay. This is going to clone the repository, which means download the repository and all of the history. It's kind of big because our entire about.sourcegraph.com site also lives in the same repository, and that has a lot of big videos and images. So that might take a while. Let's let that keep running in the background and get a couple other things that will be helpful. So the handbook is all in Markdown, and let's get a handy Mac Markdown Editor that makes it easy to make edits and see what they look like. So go to Markdown, download Markdown, and I'll open it up, and I'll drag that over to Applications. And because this is not kind of an official app, you'll need to right-click and say Open, and then open the very first time you run it. So there it is. Great. All right, I'll close that for now, but we have it installed. Okay, so I'll go back to GitHub Desktop, and it is done cloning that repository. So let's open up the files from that repository. The About is that top level folder, and here are all the files. Now, the handbook is in the handbook folder, and we can start out with that index.md. That means the main page. I want to open this file using Markdown, which we just installed. So I'll right click, go to Open With, and if I hold down the Option button on my keyboard, always open with Markdown. That tells my computer always use Markdown for Markdown files. All right, and so here is that familiar looking handbook page, but now I'm editing it locally. And if I make changes, then you see them instantly reflected over there. Great. So I'm going to add a new page. Let's call it Team. And so that's a new link. That's a link to a file that doesn't exist, of course. So it's a file called team.md. I'll save this file. I'm going to go back to the Finder, and I'm going to create a new file named team.md in this same folder. So I'll go up to the menu. I made a new file, and I will save this as team.md, but I'll be sure to put it in that GitHub About Handbook folder. Okay. And let's just make a quick page listing our teammates. Alice, Bob, Carol, David. We are all so happy. All right, so it's a new page. I'll save this, close it out, and here I am in the main page where I added that new link. Anyway, so I've changed two files. I added a new file and I edited this file. Let's go back to GitHub Desktop, and it actually shows me the changes that I made. Over here on the left, two changed files. Remember, I added that link there, and then I added this brand new page. Let's make one other edit just so we can. Let's can remove that line. And I'll save it, go back to GitHub, and it shows that edit. So down here, once I'm done making all of the edits, then I'm going to type in a summary. So, remove 1-on-1, add team page. Okay, and I don't want to commit to master. That would mean that I would be immediately pushing these changes live. I want to propose a change. So I'm going to create what's called a new branch. And let's say people ops changes. I'll give that name, create new branch, create branch, and I'll bring my changes over to that branch. Okay, so now I can commit to that branch. All right, and then I'm going to publish that branch. That pushes my changes up to the internet and means that other people can see them, and soon I will propose a change so that there's a pull request. I'll create a pull request after that's done. See, that's the message I put in. I can scroll down to the bottom and see the exact same changes that I remember seeing locally, and I can make a pull request. This is a demo, just so no one gets confused. I'll create that pull request. Okay, so I've made a multi-page change for the handbook, and I did it locally. I'm going to show you one more thing. This is a little bit more advanced. This lets you get a totally accurate preview of what your changes will look like in the actual handbook website. So you can stop now if you don't need to see this. This is only if you're making changes where you want to actually try it out, click around, and run everything locally. So I'm going to download a tool that we use to run the documentation site, which is called DocSite. Go to Releases. I'll get the latest release for my operating system, which for Mac OS is the Darwin AMD 64. Okay, and then I'm going to go over and first have to make this executable, like that. And then I'm going to go into the repositories directory. Okay, so there I am. Now that I'm in this directory, I can run that program that I downloaded, DocSite, and I'll say serve. Okay, and it's available at that URL. I'm going to go back to my web browser, put that in. There we see that front page. That's not very helpful. We know that the handbook is at /handbook, so here we are. And I'm looking at the handbook, but it's not running on about.sourcegraph.com. It's running on my local machine. If I scroll down, I see, hey, that's the change that I made locally. I can click on it, and that's that page. So that is how you can run a local version of the entire document, of the entire handbook, and see what it looks like. You can even use search. Okay, that's it. So now you've seen not only how to make a change to multiple pages in the handbook, but also how to run a local version of the entire documentation site for the handbook. So you can be sure that the changes you've made make total sense and look totally right. That's it. Nice job.